Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel, Blunt Talks. This is the cannabis channel that we talk about weed all day, every day. Basically, we're making content for weed smokers, by weed smokers, and that weed smoker happens to be me. So today, we're going to talk about something that I haven't really heard anybody talking about on the internet or the weed space, and it does need to be talked about more, and that is how to spot old cannabis from the dispensary, or just how to spot old cannabis in general, because I know for a fact, because it's happened to me, that I've gotten old cannabis. And what I mean by old is, dried out, doesn't have a smell to it, you know what I'm saying, doesn't break up right, it's too dry, it crackles when you go to break it up, and just not very good. And there's a few reasons for that, and I'm gonna break it down for you real quick in this video. So basically, depending on what state you're in and all that stuff, there's a lot of different factors, whether you're in a state where they're doing sun grown or you're in a state where they're doing indoor grown, because obviously indoor grown cannabis is grown faster, the process is faster compared to sun grown, where you can only harvest once a year, and that is in October. So if you're in a state, right, and you're going to the dispensary and getting your cannabis, that cannabis that you're getting, it's not going from the tree to the jar. That cannabis is going from the tree, then it's getting cured wherever it's getting grown, and then who knows how long it's taking for that cannabis to get to the dispensary. And then when it does, it probably comes loose, and then they have to bag it and all that. So there should be 2 dates on a can or a bag that you're getting from a dispensary, and those 2 dates should be the date it was harvested and the date it was packaged. And those 2 dates are really popular and really important. So today in the video, I just want to give you guys a couple tips on how to spot old weed when you get it, because in most states you can't even look or smell at the cannabis before you buy it if you're going to a dispensary, which means that you're not going to be able to figure this out until you get home, crack the bag open, and go to smoke it. So that's irritating. It happens more frequently than you would think, and I'm just going to give you guys a couple tips on how to sort all that out and figure it out, and even if it's a good thing or a bad thing, or where the line is of when it becomes a bad thing, or if you want to return it or not smoke it, or whatever the situation is. So before I jump into it, guys, do me a favor, man. Support me, support the channel, support Blunt Talks, the cannabis community, all that. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you guys think, man. If you like the content, if you got if you had an experience with getting old weed or bad weed, leave a comment, support Blunt Talks. We're trying to do something here. We're trying to make awesome content for cannabis smokers. So if you're digging the content, just let me know, man. Thank you guys, and let's jump in. Alright, so with the research that I've done on this whole situation, it basically, on average, it takes about 30 to 45 days for the cannabis to actually reach the consumer. And that's from the time that it's finished harvesting and they send it out. So that's a pretty big gap from the time that it's actually picked from the plant to the time that it actually gets on the shelves for people like us to buy it. And then, this is another stat right here that is crazy. Now, on average, usually 60 to 90% of the terpenes are gone by the time that it reaches the dispensary. Dude, that's a lot. That's a lot. So basically, you're getting such a small amount of terpenes by the time you actually buy the cannabis, which is just one of the things that comes with the whole process. I mean, it's probably even worse on the black market unless you're buying it directly from the grower, which would be a whole different ballgame. But that is what we're dealing with, man. We're dealing with cannabis that takes a long time to produce, from the time that it gets picked to the time that you're actually putting it in your pipe or your blunt to smoke it. And there's going to be two different types of cannabis that you can run into, once you buy it from the dispensary. And those two kinds are mature cannabis and dead cannabis. And obviously, mature cannabis is going to be what you're looking for, because dead cannabis is the type of cannabis that probably won't get you high, or it will get you high, but it won't taste good, it won't have a smell, and it's not going to be very good or enjoyable for you to consume. So hopefully, this isn't happening too much to too many people, but I know that it has happened to me on occasion. And dude, dead weed, it smells like hay. It smells like hay. I mean, it either has no smell or it smells like hay. So if you get an eighth or a quarter from your dispo and you go to open up your jar, the first thing you're going to want to do is smell it. And when you go to smell it and it either has no smell at all, which is weird. I mean, you're paying top dollar for top shelf cannabis. It should have a pungent smell that hits you right in the face when you open the jar. But if you're getting a jar and it doesn't have a smell, or it has a very light smell, or if it smells like hay, you know that your weed is either dead or it's on the way to being dead. And if I paid $60 for an eighth that I got and that was like that, I would return it, because that's a lot of money, man. You know what I'm saying? And if you're getting older weed, they should be telling you, and they should be discounting it for sure. And if that's not happening, that's an issue. Alright, so real quick, guys, I'm going to give you 4 tips that you can use to tell if your weed is old or dead. And I already gave you the first one. If it smells like hay, or if it has no smell at all, that is a surefire way to tell that you got old cannabis. So that's a big one, man. Another one is, if you bought a pre-roll, you are probably getting dead or old weed. Let's just be realistic, man. They market these pre-rolls as like an elite exclusive product, something that is a top shelf thing. People get excited about them, they overcharge for them, and really what you're getting is old weed. Because what do you think they're doing with all that shake? And even if they're using top shelf buds, once you break up the buds, you're losing a huge amount of the terpenes, you're losing a huge amount of the trichomes. And once you break up buds, especially if you're grinding it, like in a big big amounts at a time, that's not a top shelf product. As soon as that bud is grinded, it goes from top shelf to low shelf, middle shelf, whatever. I don't care how good it was when it started. I don't care what kind of strain it was. I'm telling you, it's almost like a car. Like, once you buy a car and you drive it off of the lot, it loses value. That's the same thing with a nug. Once you break it up, it loses value. It's not the same thing, man. It's not the same product. It's just not. So if you're buying pre-rolls, you're probably getting old or dead weed. I'm not saying it's always like that. I'm sure there's reputable people out there that are selling really good pre-rolls, but in my opinion, and experts' opinion, you can do your research, pre-rolls are not the way to go. So another way to tell is, like I mentioned earlier, check the harvest date. Check the packaging date, man. If your harvest date's a year out, you got old weed. You know what I'm saying? If your packaging date is 4-7 months out, you probably got old weed. Now, I'm not saying it's dead weed, but it's close. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, man, every month that passes with cannabis, unless you're treating it like lettuce or produce, and you're like refrigerating it and storing it at perfect temperatures the whole way through until you sell it, which is not happening, then the time matters, man. So check those dates. A lot of people, they don't check the dates. I actually did a video on how to read a cannabis label. You can find the video on my channel and check it out, because I teach you everything that a cannabis label has on it and how to read it. So that's pretty much it, man. Like, those are the main things to look for when you're dealing with cannabis, man. And like I said, at the dispensaries, it's really common for you to get old weed because of how long it takes from the time it gets picked from the plant to the time it gets put out on the shelves for people to buy. You know what I'm saying? It could be months, it could be almost a year, over a year. And stale weed isn't fun to smoke. And you know, like I said, if you're paying top dollar, top shelf prices and you're getting old weed, that's an issue. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. Check your weed. I mean, I'm sure that if you bring some old weed back to the dispo, they would refund you, you know, hands down with no problem. So just check your weed, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if it doesn't have a smell, check your labels. You know, all that stuff is a factor. And another factor is, and this is almost like a no-brainer, but if your weed is like brown or like turning brown, it's getting old, man. Because even the most vibrant, you know, neon colored cannabis, the longer it sits around, the darker it's gonna get. But I mean, we're talking about plant material, man. We're talking about, you know, it's flowers, man. You know what I'm saying? So if it's turning brown, that's another way that you can tell if your cannabis is getting old. I hope you guys appreciate this video. I hope you guys learned something from the you know, the content that I'm putting out. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment if you want to, and don't forget, guys, have a great day, be safe, and stay high. Peace.